Okay, right, here we go. So, welcome to another episode of the Guest Safety Officer Group podcast. Tonight, I'm with our in-house solicitor, Ernest Adua, and he's going to be going through some stuff for us tonight. So, good evening, Ernest. How are you?
Good evening. I'm very well, thank you. And thank you for having me.
It's great to have you on board, Ernest. Could you just give a quick bio about yourself before we start tonight?
Yes, indeed. I'm a solicitor, criminal law solicitor by trade. I've been qualified as solicitor for, gosh, gonna make me feel old now, 12 plus years. I've been qualified as a solicitor. So it's a long time, but in the world of being a lawyer, it's not so long actually, because you get lawyers that have been doing this for 30 plus years and even more. So
Well,
Um,
well,
yeah, but it's for the most part, it's always been criminal litigation and defense. I defend people who are accused of very minor crimes to the most serious crimes, from murder to terrorism to drug importation, multiple kilos, and so forth. It's always been defense.
that's great stuff there. That was one of the reasons why you're here. Um,
Yeah.
one of the things we are talking about tonight is for the security officers out there on the ground, and tonight's program is about understanding your rights if you're arrested in the UK.
Yeah.
So, getting straight on to the point here. I mean, let's just get what is the legal rights the security have when if they get arrested? What's the first thing they should do if they get arrested?
Well, they have the same rights as any other individual, but I should emphasize that, um, particularly for security officers, it's a bit more delicate for them if they are arrested because it could affect their career. It's not every job that an arrest will have an effect on the career, even if that arrest amounts to no further action, it could still have an effect on the career. But to answer the question, the first thing to do, and you may hear this in on TV or otherwise, is to simply cooperate with the arresting officer. Don't try to argue. Don't try to resist, because you could get further arrested for resisting an officer, resisting an arrest. Um, Cooperate. Bear in mind now in the 21st century that a lot of officers and security staff will be very familiar with this. They carry the body worn camera. So from that moment you're arrested, the officer is likely to be recording. So anything you say or do will be recorded visually. And so you won't have to be relying on the officer's word anymore, but there'll be an independent evidence. The video recording will capture it. So it's best to cooperate. Uh,
Right. Sorry, so carry on there. Sorry.
Sorry, and then and that's the initial part. Leading on, you'll be taken to a police station. You'll be booked in, and I say this to everyone, and even other lawyers. Believe it or not, lawyers themselves do find themselves sometimes arrested, especially in the Christmas period where there's parties and they go home, yeah, after a party and they might find themselves over the limit. But what I will say is, even for lawyers, if you find yourself arrested and taken to a police station, the fundamental right, or the most important right, I believe, is to ask for a solicitor to represent you.
Right, right. So we're saying whatever happens, always get a solicitor straight away if you can.
Exactly.
Right.
And what I will say is there are a number of ways you can do this. You either know your own solicitor, you can provide the officer with their name, the firm, or alternatively, you can make a phone call to anyone who might be concerned about your welfare whilst in custody. So that means you can call family or friends, anyone who might be concerned about you, where you are, how you're doing. You have a right to call them as the same right same um, way you have a right to call a lawyer, a solicitor. You have also a right to call someone who may be concerned about your welfare whilst in custody, and that person may have better access in finding a lawyer for you. So, because you also have an option of having a duty lawyer, which are independent lawyers, but they're on a panel, and it's free of charge. You don't have to pay for them. You don't know who you're going to get, but they have passed a particular qualification, which means they are able to offer their services on a duty scheme. So they're no less of a lawyer. It's just you don't know who you're going to get. And so sometimes people are a bit apprehensive about that because it's unknown. They don't know who they're getting. They don't appreciate the levels of qualification you need to become a duty solicitor. So a bit of peace of mind. You may call someone who might be concerned about your welfare, and they can do a bit of research while you're in custody and phone around and call someone whilst you're inside.
So what we're saying, it's always, as we said earlier on, it's important to have a solicitor, regardless whatever goes on.
Yeah, yeah. And go on.
I was going to say, if you'd like to finish off, because this is important information for the personnel out on the grounds.
Well, yeah, and I just want to also add, just to follow up on what and repeat what you say. Not only is it important to have a solicitor or lawyer present at the police station, but often is the case, and this is no criticism of any police officers, because I'm sure a lot of police officers do listen to this. But what I will say is it's often the case where people in custody are told, if you want a solicitor, it's going to delay things. You'll be in and out if you don't have a solicitor, and that's not the case at all. And even if it was the case, which most times it's not, you're only waiting for the solicitor to arrive, but the solicitor can't arrive or won't necessarily arrive until the officers are actually ready to interview. But even if it was the case, that small time you're waiting to get for the solicitor to arrive, it could make a huge difference to you going in by yourself, unrepresented, unassisted by a lawyer. So I would always say wait and do not believe or be persuaded to go in without a lawyer just because you're told that it will take longer.
Right. That's interesting. That is very important. So basically, if you do get arrested, get legal representation and don't do anything until you get there or until your lawyer or solicitor gets there. What brings me on to one of my other questions, which is, the right to remain silent during arrest. How effective is this?
It's so important, and the reason why is because some people will argue, well, if you've got nothing to hide, you would speak. You would just answer all questions. Even an innocent person, and we've all heard about wrongful convictions, would know someone who may know someone who's been wrongfully convicted, they didn't do something. Even an innocent person can unintentionally or mistakenly say something which the police or someone else might interpret as evidence of guilt. And so sometimes the best thing to do in that moment, no matter how passionate or how much you believe you can prove your innocence, is to simply say nothing and let someone who's qualified, experienced in representing someone in these quite precious and pressurized circumstances, letting them take charge and advising.
Right. So that's quite important. So just reflecting back on that. So what we're saying is wait till your solicitor gets there before you start speaking. And also, as you said earlier on, with the body-worn cameras now, are we advising the person on the ground to be quiet until things actually happen, or until you guys get there?
Exactly that. I would say general advice would be to remain silent and don't say anything until the lawyer gets there. I do appreciate, listen, there's an exception to every rule, and I can't ignore the fact that there may be circumstances where by simply answering a question might lead to the police even de-arresting you. It might lead to the police even saying, do you know what, we've got the wrong person. And so, it's difficult to say 100% every time you should say nothing. And ultimately, if you feel it on the ground, it's a kind of a gut instinct which doesn't always work, but you'll get a sense of if you're in that situation whether you can simply say, no, I wasn't there. I can show you right now I was somewhere else, and that may lead to you being de-arrested.
Okay, so it's an open book really on that one. It's if it's something, what you're saying, the circumstance stage, if it's something quite severe or say you're being accused and you can prove you weren't there and you can say that, do it. But if not, keep your mouth shut until the cavalry arrives. If that's
exactly.
Right. So getting access to legal representation, you said that's very important. How can the personnel on the ground make sure this happens for them?
So internet, Google searches are phenomenal. You will get a lot of firms showing up on a Google search. So it's simply a case of going through the profiles on the firm, doing a research on the firm, and finding out whether or not that firm is the best fit for the person in custody. Now, listen, look, the reality is no firm is going to say anything bad about themselves on their own website. So you'll have to look at reviews. You'll have to look at independent reviews done by rating agencies such as the Legal 500 or Chambers and Partners, or just general Google reviews. And it may be the case that you're in a particular area, because if, for example, in London, there's too many lawyers, if I can put it that way. There are loads to choose from, good lawyers, good law firms. Whereas if you're in a remote area, in a village maybe, there may not be as many good law firms. And if you're in custody, the last thing you want to do is necessarily instruct a lawyer, or last thing you may want to do is instruct a lawyer who's many miles away, tens of miles away, because that wouldn't be helpful.
Right. So what we're saying is check them out. Have a good understanding for you people out there. It's good. It's good to have a good solicitor in play.
Yeah. Well, look, no. Unfortunately, you can't predict when necessarily a circumstance might arise where someone's going to be arrested. So for me to say have a solicitor in your back pocket perhaps would be a bit naive, because nobody does, unless you're a mafia boss.
Yeah, most of our people are not mafia bosses. The personnel on the ground just running the best. But just say if they do get arrested, I mean, this is a bit of a tricky question, and it's more of an employment law. But can the employer discipline a security officer who's been arrested and not convicted?
Yeah. So again, that's what I alluded to in the beginning when I said security staff it's a bit more sensitive for them in the sense of they are often regulated by their regulatory body, and so even off the back of an arrest which doesn't result in a charge or any further action, it may be that they will have to notify their regulatory body and their employer of the circumstances of them being arrested. And then it will be for their employer to determine, in line with their employment practices and employment law, whether or not disciplinary action needs to be taken. Because just because there wasn't necessarily evidence of a crime being committed by the suspect, or evidence of that person being guilty of the crime, the circumstances that led to that arrest may result in disciplinary procedures at work.
That's brilliant, and it's great stuff. So just to give a whole review on this, because as I say, we've got to get it clear for the personnel on the ground. During this Christmas time, if they do get arrested, something does happen. First things first, say nothing because of the body-worn cameras, unless you feel you've got enough evidence to prove it wasn't you in that situation.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Secondly, if not, wait for you to get the solicitor there. If you don't want to accept the duty solicitor, and you've got your phone call, haven't you? Is that correct?
Got a phone call, exactly.
So someone at home, do a bit of research, get the cavalry there to help you at that point. That is brilliant. That is brilliant. I know these are short and sweet on this one. We will be doing some more with Ernest on this. So I'd like to say thank you, Ernest, for coming and spending your time with us tonight. I know we're going to be doing this on a regular basis. If anyone's got any questions out there, or feel they need to contact us regarding anything which has gone on, please feel free to either comment on the section below or email our website. We can put you in contact with Ernest. On that total note for tonight, I'd like to say thank you, Ernest, for coming in tonight, and Merry Christmas to everybody. And thank you, Ernest, for your time.
Thank you, and Merry Christmas to everyone as well. Hope you have a pleasant and safe Christmas and festive period.
And it's
Don't
brilliant.
drink and drive either.
Don't drink and drive. Definitely don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
And for everybody out there, just Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And also, if you like this content and you want to get more involved, please like and subscribe. Thank you.